Hello everyone and welcome to your NARSA weekly update for the week commencing Monday the 17th of October 2022. It's Gary here again and I'm going to start off this week with another gaffe from the archives of what Gaz got wrong last week, and I just had another stink bomb last week, didn't I? Here I am last week waxing lyrical about our game against Motherwell being on Saturday, before the two unwashed teams played together at Sharkhead a little bit later in the afternoon, and lo and behold, our game was actually on Sunday. Oh, dearie me. The ironic thing is that on this one occasion, not one person even mentioned it to me this time. And it was actually me a couple of days later when I heard someone else saying the game was on Sunday, and I was like, no, it's not. And then I went and did a wee bit of research, and I was like, yes, it is. Whoops-a-daisy. So this can only mean one of two things. Either no one listened to the pod last week or paid attention when they were listening, or number two, everyone else thought it was Saturday as well, and I'm not the only person. I'm not 100% sure what one it was, but whoops, as I said the last time I did this, which wasn't too long ago if I remember correctly, I will get better going forward and will actually read what is written down instead of what I think is written down the next time I am doing my notes for that. So let's get that one out of the way and get on with some decent content for this week. On to the game segment for this past week, and as you know, we had two games, one in the Champions League and one in the Scottish Premiership. And like the last couple of weeks, I'm going to try not spend a huge deal of time on the games this week, primarily because the first one ended kind of in disaster, didn't it? Really, you know, the first was our 7-1 defeat at Ibrox to Liverpool in our fourth Champions League game of the season, and this really was an absolute game of two halves. I can't even believe it when I say that out loud. 7-1 defeat at Ibrox to anyone. I don't even care who it is. We've had better teams than Liverpool come to us in better form than Liverpool, and we've never been beaten like that. Anyway, the first half I thought was excellent, really, really good, and Scotty Arfield put us ahead, of course, with a brilliantly worked goal, and I thought we were really, really comfortable. Then Tav, not for the first time in the last few games, to be dead honest, made a bit of a mess of a pass out from defence, and which gets cut out and then results in a corner. Okay. And then Tav is supposed to be marking Bobby Firmino, but couldn't, and then Firmino gets a relatively lame header at the front post for the equaliser. Didn't have to work too hard for that, which was a big disappointment. Arfield had a chance for a second goal, and it might have actually been before the equaliser. Now that I think about it, maybe it might have been to make it 2-0. I'm not 100% sure. I can't quite remember, and I've certainly not watched the highlights back. But we go into half time absolutely in this game, and I'm excited. It's going really well. We had Hammy from the Rangers Supporters Club of Calgary there, and he's FaceTiming at half time, and you could feel the buzz of anticipation from the crowd in the Broomlin Road stand when he was there. And I had a wee prediction before the game that the score would be 2-2. That's what I thought it would be at the end, and that was looking on the cards until we lost 6 goals in 32 minutes. 6 goals in 32 minutes at home. Let that sink right in right now. At Ibrox, 6 goals in 32 minutes. So we lost 6 goals in 32 minutes against a team who just beat us 2-0 the week before. Yes, our goalie had a blinder the week before, but even then, 9-1 overall in aggregate over the two games. If we'd have counted it that way, of course we don't. But I don't know what to say. I've literally never seen anything like it. I took a half day from work, which I promptly cancelled, by the way, at the end of the game, as I wanted to be part of history. Like, we haven't played Liverpool before in a competitive match like that. But I just didn't think, like, for a second, the history that we would have actually witnessed would have been our worst ever result in European competition. And I said last week that I thought we'd have learned as a team, as a club, as a management and coaching staff, that we would have learned from Anfield and that we'd rise to the occasion at Ibrox. And we did for 45 minutes for sure, but the team that came out in the second half wasn't the same team from the first half, and man oh man did we get humiliated. We got to 3-1, and I know there's still a possibility of getting something from the game at that point, but we bring on 3 attackers at that point, and maybe this is the benefit of hindsight, of course, being smart after the fact, when maybe being a wee bit more conservative might have served us a wee bit better at that point. But I've never seen anything like it. Did the team chuck it? Who knows? I'm not 100% sure about that, but you don't lose that amount of goals in that amount of time if you are completely switched on and completely in the game at any level, in my experience anyway. So positives from the game. We scored the first goal of the Champions League season, which was pleasant, and our overall play and application in the first half was great. We were calm, we were composed, we seemed to be following strictly to a game plan, and it was working for us. Negatives from minutes 55 to 87. Actually, maybe that's a wee bit unfair. They scored their third goal in 66 minutes, and there's still a swack of time left. But from 76 to 87 minutes, we conceded 4 goals, including the fastest ever hat-trick in Champions League history by Mo Salah, who came on as a sub and basically just gave in and let them walk through us. 4 goals lost at home in 11 minutes. Can you believe it? It sounds incredible even just saying that out loud. I see teams doing that in the old man's division that I play in, but I never expected to see it watching Rangers in such a high-profile game, especially after what we'd witnessed, like an hour before it. We were absolutely pathetic, and the boys, to a man, should all be ashamed of themselves at the way that we just appeared to throw in the towel towards the end of the game. Other negatives, of course, was Connor Goldson's injury. We basically kind of fell apart after he went off injured, because it's a thing that we never see from this guy. The guy never gets injured. And Ryan Jack got injured again. I just can't see that fella having a long-term future with us. When he's on his game and firing, he really controls the games as such an influential figure for us. But more often than not these days, he's injured or coming back from injury, and it's just too bad for him, because I really, really like him, but he's just not reliable enough. His body's breaking down. And another negative is the score, and the fact that we haven't, well, we have scored a goal, but we haven't got any points. Yeah, so no one gets pass marks for the last 25 to 30 minutes or so of the game. It was just truly awful in every single position. The week before, McGregor was saving everything. This week, some stuff was going by him that I thought he could maybe have stretched a hand out and made a better attempt at. Anywho. So, got a goal, got pumped. Our Champions League hangs in the balance. If we get 6 points from the last 2 games, we're in with a very good chance of qualifying. Of course, we only need to go to the team who are unbeaten and running riot in Napoli. However, they have secured the qualification, so maybe they take it a wee bit easier on us and maybe let us get our first point there and then take it to the last game at against Ajax, at Ibrox, assuming Liverpool beat Ajax in the next game. You never know. More about that next week. But on the referee watch, I thought the referee was pretty good and got the major calls correct. He only had 1 booking in the game, which was at the very end of the game as well, and I think that's mostly because I quite honestly don't recall us putting in a single challenge. After Golson went off anyway, he was throwing himself about a bit, which maybe ended up with the injury. But, at least go in and let the guys know that you're there. I'm not talking about, injuring anybody or anything like that. What I'm talking about is just put a challenge or 2 in, and then just have them, kind of back off a wee bit and say, right, okay, enough's enough. But we just literally stood off them and admired them and didn't track or follow any tactic at that point, and then you get what we got. So anyway, back to the ref. The referee did fine. He gets a 7 out of 10. But yeah, horrific view. And our second game was Sunday's 2-1 away win to Motherwell, and what looked like at one point that it might have been a candidate for worst game of the year. Then it looked like we could be 4 or 5-0 at the end of the game, and then we ended up with that all too familiar last 10 minutes squeaky bum time for everyone concerned with the club. What was that like? We had a absolutely brilliant opening goal from Malik Tillman, who's Leo's favourite player. Leo, my son's favourite player. Anyway, brilliant opening goal from Tillman, who took it past every single Motherwell player, their backroom staff, half the ball boys, all twice each, and then clipped it beautifully home. That's how I remember it anyway. It was very early in the morning. And then the winner from, and I hope you're sitting down for this next part, the winner came directly from a corner kick. Yeah, directly from a corner kick, and a brilliant kind of stooping header from John Lundstrom as well. So that was a tremendous, two tremendous goals actually. And the goal we lost was just a complete fluke. A free kick that was a cross but ended up evading everyone and getting into the top of the net. Not much you can do about those sorts of things. On first view, I was a wee bit annoyed that McGregor might have done better, but on the replays, it was just an out-and-out fluke, and fair play to them for getting that. And after that, the home crowd got a wee bit excitable, but there really truly wasn't anything to get too worried about from our side, and 2-1 is how it ended. Job done, another 3 points in the bag. Positives: Tillman's opening goal was an absolutely brilliant move and finish, and well done to him. He's already getting a bit of a highlight reel of exceptional moments for us, isn't he? And he's got the feeling of a player still very much getting up to speed. He had a wee bit of time out the team there as well, just a young guy finding his feet. But other than that, the main positive was to navigate a potentially tough away match, at Motherwell without being under too much pressure really on the balance. I only remember one other shot earlier in the game for Motherwell, I think in the second half, around about the 50th or 60th minute, something like that McGregor did well to save. Negatives, as I mentioned earlier there, the first half was just painful to watch. The last 10 minutes of stress felt like it could have been avoided, but on reflection, as I mentioned, there wasn't really much in the way of any actual stressful moments in terms of chances created or moments of panic. So credit to the team for that and for defending it the way they did. My main man, Tony Goals, had only the one chance in the whole game and fluffed it, just headed it straight the way he was looking instead of angling it towards the net. And I think yesterday was probably his most ineffective domestic game for us, but I think that was probably mostly due to a lack of service rather than anything he did exceptionally wrong on an individual basis. But a wee bit disappointed. I was hoping he was going to continue his goal scoring streak. On the referee watch, I don't recall seeing this referee David Dickinson before. I know that Tom Miller on the RTV commentator said he's done something like only 13 top flight games or something like that. Maybe he has refed us before, but I didn't recognise him, and I thought he had a really good game overall. I don't recall him being involved in anything super controversial at all throughout the match. If I was being a wee bit nitpicky, he did seem to let their Dutch guy Van Veen roughhouse his way through the match, especially in the first half, but there was nothing really super malicious, so I'm not going to get too bothered about that. So he gets a 10. Sorry, a 10, not a 10. He gets an 8 out of 10 for yesterday's performance. So 5 games down in this very, very busy month of October. 4 to go with the League Cup match coming up next, and Livingston, and then Napoli and Aberdeen. So still remains a huge month for us in the 3 competitions that we are involved in, and we want to continue to stay in touch at the top of the Premiership table. You never know what might come from Europe this season. Honestly, can you imagine if we did qualify for the Europa League after what's happened in the first 4 games? that'd be quite the thing, I have to say. And then we want another shot at this League Cup, of course, as well. So still a massive month for us. 2 games this week, starting with Wednesday's League Cup quarter-final clash at home to Dundee. This one has a bit of a weird kick-off time. It's 3:15 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That's 8:15 in the UK. I'm not exactly sure why. I really have no idea why it's that. I'm assuming obviously for TV, and maybe ours and the other part of the old firm are kicking off on the same night. I really don't know. Anyway, I'm sure Giovanni will try and rest some of his players and give some of the periphery or fringe players a bit of a chance to get some minutes in, all with an eye of having a team strong enough to go and get us the result that we need to get through to the semi-finals. Anything less than that is an unmitigated disaster for us, so let's not even go there. Our second game is at home to Livingston this Saturday, and our run of fixtures leading up to the World Cup are all certainly more than winnable for us. Actually, obviously, I know you can't get more than a win, but they're certainly winnable for us, and that has to be the target, starting with the game against Livingston at Ibrox. We've had a decent share. It feels like we've had a decent share recently of 3 p.m. UK, 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time kickoffs this past wee while, and it's the same this weekend. And what that means is a couple of pints for the troops at Pinbar during and after the match, which is always a great time. I am absolutely loving that. I really am. And Livingston are having a bit of a solid season for them, and they're in the top 6 at this point. Interestingly, only one win away from third spot. 2 points behind third spot. So from third to 8th spot is separated by only 4 points at this point of the season. So a very congested mid-table. I know we're only 10 or 11 games in, but anyway, we don't need to worry about that, as hopefully we'll smash them and bag a few goals in the process, since we lost a wee bit of ground on the goal difference front on the weekend due to Diet Selic doing a completely wholly unexpected lie down job at Sharkhead on Saturday. So we're now 12 goals behind them, and with them heading to Tynecastle prior to our game, I'm sure that we'll have about another 4 or 5 goals behind to make up again on top of the 12 that there is right now before kick-off, which is the way that Hearts seem to play against them. Yes, I am saying that from a kind of reverse psychology perspective, hoping and dreaming that Hearts actually show up against them, but you never know. For RTV, we did have a wee bit of a bump yesterday for the Toronto Midtown members who were heading to watch the game on demand. RTV, for whatever reason, chose that time to do some back-end technology testing or whatever it was they were doing. I'm not 100% sure, which meant that they couldn't access the game through their regular account. So they did purchase an individual account for this one game, and they will be reimbursed by RTV for that. But what the testing does do, though, is give us a bit more of a predictable and regular turnaround time on demand games going forward. So on this occasion, a wee bit of pain for hopefully a wider and longer term gain for the NARSA membership at large. So other than that, everything was all quiet on the RTV front. For shout-outs this week, I'm going to start with a couple of really sombre shout-outs, unfortunately, and then we'll get to something happy at the end of it. Firstly, I'd like to extend my sincere sympathies to the Carey family, both here and here in Calgary, and back home in Paisley and beyond, for the passing of Auntie Lizzie, who passed away yesterday at the age of just 62 years old. Oh my word, 62 is not even an age at all in this day and age. It's just incredible, awful time. And I think I'd heard on, it was either Friday or Saturday, like very, very close to the time of her passing, that she was in hospital and she wasn't expected to get back out. And I'm like, what? And then, of course, she passed yesterday. So from myself and everyone at NARSA, Carey family and friends, please accept our sincere condolences. I'm so sorry for your loss, folks. And in the same vein, I'd also like to pass on our condolences to friend of NARSA and Heart and Hand, podder Ross Adair, on the passing of his dad John yesterday after a battle with cancer. He'd battled cancer before, and then they got the all clear, got some surgery, got the all clear, everything was good, and then unfortunately it returned. And I just read an incredible tribute to John written by Ross on Facebook a few minutes ago, and what a beautiful piece of writing it was. You can tell the bond and relationship he had with his dad, and it was a wonderful read. So again, from myself and everyone at NARSA, Ross, please accept our sincere condolences. I'm really, really sorry for your loss, my friend. I do have a special one, though, just to get back onto the happy path here, from the Barrie Rangers Supporters Club. And I had a note last week from their secretary, Shelley Finnegan, who wrote asking for a shout out for their treasurer, Stuart McBoyle, who has decided to retire from the Barrie Rangers Supporters Club after over 20 years of service. Shelley said that Stuart has provided us many years of service and we would love to show him some appreciation. One of Stuart's favourite players is Michael Moles, and some of his highlights during his tenure are of course winning 55 as well as last year's Europa final, although that would also have been a low light as it was a free game and we had 50 people show up for the game. I could see the lost dollar signs running through his brain. Stuart was our faithful treasurer for over 20 years, and you would often find him guarding the front of the room to make sure no one snuck in without paying. He is certainly going to enjoy his retirement and being able to enjoy the games with no interruptions with his table mate Malcolm, although he probably won't be able to help himself handing out coasters and keeping us in check every now and again. I love it. 20 years, wow, that's an incredible tenure in service in any organisation, and even more so when it's for your beloved football team and the supporters club that you're supporting. Having done similar work for many years myself now, I more than appreciate that the time, attention and sacrifice that has to be made when you've made the decision to serve something higher than yourself, and it sounds like Stuart did more than his fair share of that. He ran a very tight ship and did his best to make sure the books were appropriately balanced. I can't even begin to imagine what his face was like when there's 50 folks there in May and they didn't have to pay a single penny for the game. Such is life, Stuart. On behalf of NARSA, I want to wish you a very, very happy retirement, Stuart, and thank you very, very much for your service to your club and to the wider NARSA community. You are simply the best, my friend. If you come to the convention in Toronto next year, make sure you come over and say hello, please, and I will buy you a congratulatory retirement beverage of your choice, my friend. Okay, nice to end the shout outs on something positive. For convention updates, I can officially confirm it's 241 days and 34 weeks until Toronto Midtown hosts the biggest bash of the Overseas Rangers year. I said last week that we would be putting the hotel convention out for booking, and I guess I overestimated the work that it's actually required to make it happen in the background. We are ready. The hotel are ready to get this out there. It's just logistics at the NARSA side that we need to get set up, and that's what we're waiting for. We're very, very close, I promise you that. Our typical process is to open it to NARSA members first and then get it out to the rest of the world. So I'll be sending an email to all NARSA clubs here probably tomorrow, maybe tomorrow, probably Wednesday, and then we'll get it out to everyone else through our wider distribution list, and then we will get that guaranteed done this week. I know I said guaranteed last week as well, but as I say, I kind of misrepresented that. Just another wee quick reminder, if anybody missed the pod last week, it's at the Sheraton Centre Toronto Hotel, right in the heart of the financial district downtown Toronto, and we have secured an early bird rate for that, which will get you basically $14 off the room per night that you're staying there, and that's prior to the 16th of December. So up to and including the 15th of December, you will get the early bird rate. Anytime after that, you will have to pay the higher rate. So don't be that person. And I would recommend getting on it early anyway, because I think this is going to sell out quite quickly as well. And what I can also tell you is that Rosie Ratter and her team at the Holiday and Flight Centre have put out their full packages for folks who have expressed an interest in them already. So if you go to attheconvention.com, you'll see what they have to offer. As I mentioned last week, you can also call them. The number will be on the blurb for tonight's pod, or you can go and visit them if you're in the area or in the close location to the area. And as I also mentioned last week, Toronto is absolutely jam-packed that week, primarily everybody catching up on what they didn't get to do during COVID. So we don't have a lot of rooms outside the core rates of the 15th, 16th and 17th of June next year. So we're going to end up, it's going to be a wrinkle for us. We might end up with a few disappointed bears. So please show a bit of patience on that one. Try and figure something else out, or shorten your stay or something like that, just so that you can make the whole booking experience as pleasant as you possibly can. It's just one of the factors of post-COVID recovery that we're dealing with right now, and it's not the most pleasant experience to be in, but you'll still be able to get the core nights, I'm sure, and that should be good. In terms of convention tickets, we are in the process of organising these, and we might have these good to go this week. We are finalising the cost, as I mentioned last week, and I promise we are getting there on these ones too. And finally, on the convention update, if you are a Facebooker, is that even a term? I don't even know if it's a term, but if it is a term, if you're one of those, you might already have seen that Toronto Midtown have their Facebook event page now up for the convention for next year. So as time passes, we'll be able to share convention and event-specific information via that dedicated page. So if you haven't seen it yet, go onto Facebook and search for NARSA 2023 Toronto Convention. That's NARSA 2023 Toronto Convention, and you should be able to follow it all from there. I think on the communications front for this past week, last Wednesday, the club made the following very short announcement. Maybe that's what happens when you don't have a communications director. And it says, Barrie Scott has resigned as a director of the company to pursue his other business commitments. The directors wish him well in those endeavours. Short and sweet. From recollection, and I might be wrong here, I don't think this is the first time Barrie has joined the board and then resigned, and I've no idea what's behind it. I don't think it's anything sinister or anything like that. I'm sure he has his reasons, and all that really remains to say on that one is thank you for your contribution and your service, and good luck to you in the future. You'll also likely have seen that we are finally getting VAR in Scottish football. You remember at the beginning of the season I was talking about that and kind of laughing about the fact it was going to be after the the World Cup, and then they were going to bring it forward super early, and then it just went deathly quiet. There was nothing said about it, and then it just kind of reared its head a wee bit last week. So in an SFA, in an article on the SFA website, it said Scottish football's VAR era will begin at Easter Road later this month, with the Cinch Premiership introducing the technology in all 12 stadia ahead of schedule. After nearly 3 years of planning, development and testing, FIFA have given Scottish football the green light to introduce video assistant referees. As well as all Cinch Premiership matches, VAR will also be used for all Scottish Cup and Premier Sports Cup semi-final and final matches played at Hampden Park. VAR will be coordinated centrally from the video operations room at Clydesdale House. Video assistant referees at Clydesdale House will assist on-field referees in the event of a clear and obvious error or a serious missed incident in relation to the following criteria: straight red cards, penalty area incidents, goals, and mistaken identity. That's it. Straight red cards, penalty area incidents, goals, and mistaken identity. It's going to be very interesting times, folks, isn't it? I'm sure that there will be some teething troubles like there has been in every country, I think, that's done it. I mean, England certainly wasn't without their teething troubles last season. And I'll be very, very interested to see how it goes for the likes of the Clancies of the world now that they'll have immediate checks on their major decisions for our games going forward. Time will tell, my friends, and I'm really, really looking forward to this and just kind of getting ourselves up to speed. There's a bit more on the article. I'll put a link to the article on the website. I just wanted to read out some of the highlights there, but there's another few quotes and another couple of facts and figures there. Brian Campbell and I did finally get a chance to meet with some hierarchy from Rangers Football Club today. We met with Stuart Robertson, our Managing Director, and Greg Marshall, the Supporters Liaison Officer, and in a meeting that was essentially 4 months in the making. We asked for this way back in June, and it's just amazing how time flies. And the main rationale for the call in the beginning was to figure out why we only had Greg representing the club at our largest ever convention in Las Vegas, and most likely the largest fans event or fans gathering outside of a game and, overseas and in history as well. And the short answer was that due to some scheduling conflicts and the facts that the season was so long and everybody was exhausted by the end, that was the way that it just transpired, that they couldn't make it over. And while understandable, and of course I'm really biased here, I just can't imagine why anybody would not want to come over. Especially the new guys, especially James Bisgrove and David Graham. I know David's no longer with the club, but he was at the time. He did actually do his very best to try and make it, and he was trying to do some scrambling at the last minute, and it just couldn't work out for the guy with some family commitments. But, for James and David to come and experience it firsthand and just get a chance to see, noodle on some ideas, give us some, some thoughts, things that we could do better, things that could be, and I'll use this word kind of loosely, but things that they could exploit in the future. And sometimes exploit comes with a bit of a negative connotation. I don't mean it negatively at all, but things to say like, this is what we could do. We could have a pop-up shop here. We could have live event, like something like that. That's what I was really looking forward to getting them, fresh eyes to see, but unfortunately it didn't come to pass. We also discussed other strategies in and around the convention that would make it more attractive for the club leadership to be willing to come over in the future. And we do have a couple of takeaways on that, and I think that'll be good. But and on, like, not that I fully agree, but I do understand that if the club feel that there's no material business benefits to attending a 3-day end of season party, and that's really what it is, then I understand why they would feel that they could engage the fan base a bit closer to home for a fraction of the cost and a fraction of the hassle. I get that, but we have a different offering here in North America, and as I say, if we can exploit that a wee bit more and make it more attractive for them to come, then that's a good thing, because I'm really interested in the business side as well as the football side. So for Toronto 2023, they already have the dates, and I'm hoping that we'll get back on track in terms of the hierarchy being present and at the conventions going forward. It is a shame they missed it, though. They would have had an absolute blast. We also discussed customising my jerseys for overseas fans, and that's something that Greg has had on his agenda for a wee while now. Is right now the My Jersey offering is basically a donation to the club, and then we get a small gift. So there might be, hopefully will be some focus groups getting organised shortly on that one, and if that's the case, I'll keep everyone posted. We might do one with just an NARSA executive and then maybe another one with wider representation from clubs, something like that. We'll get the membership involved in some way for sure. One main thing we did get agreement in principle for was just more regular dialogue between both parties, the club leadership and ourselves going forward. And we were on for a full hour this morning as well, and going forward, we would like to set that more regular 30-minute touch points to brainstorm, to get and give feedback and keep all parties apprised of what we're all working on, and provide opinion and feedback and kudos and whatever else goes with that. So hopefully that transpires. I would really, really like that. And we didn't talk about David Graham's departure, other than the club are actively working through next steps in terms of his replacement. So looking forward to seeing what comes out of that. It was a really healthy call. And one thing I'll say about every time I interact with everyone at the club is that these are genuine guys, nice guys who are doing their bit for the goodness of our club, and I always feel better coming out of these conversations. And the main message I always leave them with is, let us know how we can help, even if it's bouncing an idea off us or mooting a proposal or venting or whatever it is you want to do. Don't forget about us. We're here to help in the strictest of confidence at all times. There's certain things on the call I'm saying, is this for public consumption, and some is, some isn't. So they have the confidence that we wouldn't break a confidence as well, and that's been developed and built over time. So I said the same today at the end, so we'll see what transpires going forward. But I did enjoy the call. Finally good to kind of clear the air on and maybe some assumptions that were being made about their lack of attendance in Las Vegas. I'd mentioned last week that our friends at 5 Stars have organised another special event for folks back home, which is the Evening with Ian Ferguson on October the 23rd. What they've also organised is a more intimate event, including Ian and Archie Knox in Raploch Bowling Club in Lark Hall this Friday, the 21st, and we have 4 tickets to give away for this. So what we're going to do is split the tickets up into two packages of 2, and we will get on with that competition quick style, because obviously we need to get that before Friday. So take a look out on our social media platforms. We'll also do it on the WhatsApp group as well. If I get time, I'll put it out on the email, but we typically don't get a lot of feedback on the emails at all, actually, so maybe we'll just do it on social media for this time. And the competition, just to give you a sneak peek, is going to be a predictor of the score on Wednesday's game against Dundee. And that's going to be the competition criteria. So if you guess it right, you will get on a list, and then we will do a random draw generator, and then you could be rubbing shoulders with both legends in just a few days' time. So good luck on that if you decide to enter. On the memorabilia associated with the Rangers 72 film, are you ready for this? We finally got around to getting it out there and getting it communicated via our social media channels just a wee while ago, actually. It was just earlier, or later this afternoon, I guess I should say. Woof, that took an extraordinarily long time to get that organised, and that's my bad. I just never paid as much attention to it as I should have. So, but it's out there now. We will get better for next time, and we'll also get it sent out to our wider distribution lists too here in a wee bit. It's just out on social media for now. So glad to get that out. We do still have the captain's dinner competition that we will do, but we'll maybe let the dust settle this week and then do that next week. There's a wee bit more time that we have on that. Okie dokie, folks, that will do it for this week. As always, I can't thank you enough for taking the time to listen, and please do share it with whomever you think might enjoy it. And until next week, here's to progressing to the semi-finals. The semi-finals are in mid-January for the League Cup, by the way, and continuing our domestic win form as this exciting month marches on. Until next week, please do take care of yourselves. All the very best. Cheerio.